that I really have no idea what I'm doing. I mean, I'm trying to do this kind of off-the-cuff sort of thing and talk to people that may eventually exist. They don't. Nobody's watching this yet. They might in the future. And I'm too lazy and, well, to be honest, too busy to actually bother editing or learning how to edit. That might change someday, but right now I'm working 55-hour work weeks and, well, I have a host of other responsibilities. But that's not what this is about. This is about basically just turning your back on reality. Saying it doesn't even matter. Now, just to put this into perspective, have you ever tried to do a Kamehameha? I mean, personally, I'm more partial to special beam cannon myself. It just seems to be such a great outlier from all the overwhelming force attacks in the Dragon Ball universe and the special beam cannon. Masenko Senpo, if I'm saying it right, probably not, is more of a rail gun. You don't see anything else like that except for maybe Frieza's finger beam, but you know what? Getting off topic. Have you ever tried to do a Kamehameha or try to fly or read minds or control minds or teleport, lift a fucking bus? You'd be the first person to do it because that shit just doesn't happen. Ever. And if nobody can do it, then why would you keep doing it? That's why you don't see people doing this shit. I mean, maybe you do, and, you know, they're probably in middle school, high school, they embarrass themselves a few times, become a bit of a social outlier. But that's it. You know, they're just kind of an idiot, and that's the end. But what I'm talking about, what I'm alluding to, poorly I might add, is sovereign citizens. You see 1,000 videos or more of these just people that are just plain wrong, thinking that they have created or discovered some sort of magic language that lets them circumvent any form of law. You know, anything from you know, a speeding ticket to you know, just trespassing on government property and everything in between. And you see all these videos, and never once has it actually worked. I mean, if anything, a cop might get frustrated and beat the crap out of them, and they get to sue for that. But cops are pretty fucking good at knowing, you know, when they are intentionally being antagonized. It's somehow when they're not being antagonized that they're brutal killing machines. I don't really get that. Personally, I think that you know, these two forces should meet, and every single killer cop should have to deal with a sovereign citizen daily. I do not know how the shit, you know, any cop puts up with them, but if anybody deserved it, it'd be a killer cop. Quiet, Popo. Sorry. The wind blows, this dog barks, live in an apartment complex, and, you know, anytime somebody's talking, he's got to be there, letting me know that he can hear it too. Yeah, another Dragon Ball reference. The dog's name is Popo. What are you going to do about it? Now, again, I just don't really understand why it is that sovereign citizens still exist. You would think after the first 1,000 times that it didn't work and they just got arrested, fined, had to do community service, you know, they'd just be like, hey, you know what? No, this doesn't work. I'm just gonna try something else. Maybe, you know, getting a job or, you know, a driver's license registration. But you know what? I mean, what really pisses me off about them is just the sheer amount of hypocrisy. I mean, yeah, I identify as the living man. I am not John Smith. That is my corporate government name. I do not, you know, consent to that name. But you still fucking cash all of John Smith's checks, don't you? Honestly, I wish that some, badass judge would be like, okay, fine, you no longer have an identity, good luck with that. And then, they just couldn't do anything. Their money would be tied up in the bank. They wouldn't be able to get a job at all because they have no identity. I'd really like to see just, some sort. I mean, could we make this a reality show? Where, sovereign citizens just get what they want, but it's the fucking monkey's paw, and they just have to, deal with the consequence of not being a person. That's my problem with libertarians, too. I mean, they, speak so much about taxation is theft, and it's like, well, you know what? There are countries where they don't tax you at all, and you are free to live there. You wouldn't want to because they're all shitholes because, well, I mean, I think you can guess why. But if you can't, it's because they don't tax anybody there. And there's a really good book. I forget who the hell it's by. It's a non-fiction piece. It's called A Libertarian Walks Into a Bear. And it is about a small town that was taken over both physically and politically by libertarians that established their tax-free utopia. And to the best of my knowledge, this was this was a town that had been around since since early settlement revolution period. And it took them only a couple years to fuck it up to the point where this town was invaded and overrun by bears. I mean, how does that even happen? How do you fuck up so bad that a town gets overrun by bears of all things? You would think it'd be rats. You would think it'd be rats or maybe thugs, ne'er-do-wells, roving biker gangs, something out of fucking Fists of the North Star. But bears? That just came out of left field. That just seems like a biblical plague right there. Anyway, I talk to libertarians about this shit all the time. Like, hey, you know what? You had your shot, and this isn't even, in some, crappy third world country where they never did taxes. It's like, no, this was a town that was built by taxes. It flourished by taxes. And as soon as they took it away, it went to crap. They never really have a good response. And I think that kind of accidentally leads me back to my point. Reality denial. They're like, well, it happened this time, but that's not to say that the system that works, and it is not a perfect system. Oh no, definitely not a perfect system. Hell no, not by a long shot. There are so many issues with the American system of governance. I mean, it's true, you do not get to pick how your taxes are used. And I think that, in a logical world, where the voice of the people actually matters, you would actually, it just occurred to me that I should change this to Red's Ramblings. Because I sure am doing that a lot, just going off on a tangent. And completely off script. There is no script. That's kind of just the organic nature. I mean, for all intents and purposes, I'm talking to myself. A living human being may never hear this. Of course, they might. If they do, hi, Mom. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not disparaging myself that much. You don't get to pick, if you want your taxes to go to, a gajillion-dollar annual military budget that really doesn't focus on the troops at all. I mean, have you seen what people get from their GI bills? It is just criminal. Yeah, they get a few advantages here and there. They get some better rates on mortgages, but by and large, soldiers are screwed. No, you know what that money gets spent on? Equipment, tanks, vehicles, guided missiles, and a lot of that gets sold to other countries, some of which become enemies, or at the very least are not allies, at a loss. They're sold at a loss, and our tax dollars pay for that. And we don't have a say in that at all. No, if the will of the people was actually heard, We would have a solid infrastructure. We would have, a higher minimum wage. We'd have a stronger middle class. We'd have penalties for companies that, outsource American jobs. They would be, either incentivized with tax discounts, which how could they be? They're, already incentivized just for existing with no taxes at all ever for any reason. So you could actually make them pay a lower a normal tax rate that actually helps society, and you could incentivize them by making that tax rate lower, or you could do the same first half, and in the second half, you could just go ahead and tax the holy living shit out of them for every single job that they send overseas. I guarantee you, Google will be hiring in a hurry. I mean, if you have a $100,000 a year ads account, they will assign somebody from the Philippines. It's making probably about $15 an hour, just over Taco Bell wages, to manage your account. And yeah, that's a lot of money in Philippines money, but do you think that person knows your business? That person's never stepped foot in the United States, doesn't know the ins and outs. And you know what? Maybe that's fine. Maybe, your business is universal, and, you don't really need to be, a Westerner or a United States citizen. You don't need to, know the day-to-day goings on. Maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe it's a restaurant. Everybody eats. They know. Oh, you know what? We this is the Philippines. It's not a third world hellhole. We have restaurants. We know how to advertise restaurants. I'm not saying that it's a definite guarantee that somebody from the Philippines can't be effective. But it's also not a guarantee that they will be in every single aspect. I mean, if I am, from Michigan, and this is a business that's based in Michigan, it's based in Detroit, there's a certain language, there's a certain nuance that goes into how Detroiters communicate with one another, and I'd want somebody on my team that really understands that nuance. Of course, that's just me. The point is that they're outsourcing to save a buck, and that shouldn't be something that they, can just get away with. And I don't think that the American the American public really likes that companies can do that, because it affects them. I mean, this is especially true in manufacturing jobs like steel, consumer electronics like refrigeration. When's the last time you've seen a refrigeration plant or a refrigerator plant that wasn't fucked up Royal? That wasn't just, an empty parking lot and an abandoned building. We used to run that shit. And now we get all our parts from overseas. It's a real shame. So yeah, we would, pay for a stronger middle class. We would want to pay for better schools. Maybe not everybody's on the same page as, welfare programs. I get it. I do. But let me tell you something. My roommate's, he's blind. And, the government pays him $700 a month. $700. And that's it. I mean, yeah, some EBT here and there. But that doesn't help with utilities. That doesn't help with rent. I mean, he's never going to get a mortgage. Forget about it. And you know what? The actual act of qualifying for SSI housing, that can take years. But there are people that want to scale back those programs. I want to scale them forward. Now, I'm not saying that people should not have to work. I think that most people should have to work. But for shit's sake, if you're blind, you should get a pass. If you're confined to a wheelchair, you should get a pass. And if you, served your country and suffered physical or emotional scars, you should get a double pass. if you want it. Now, some people, myself included, we like working. You know, we enjoy it. It gives us a sense of fulfillment. And yeah, I have to feel like, hey, you know what? If I lost a leg or something, I probably wouldn't be working anymore. I probably would use that to just, you know, do what I want to do, which is, you know, cook, play video games, maybe learn how to fucking edit and make better videos. Again, this is a ramble, and it's one of many. So I don't anticipate that there will be, you know, too many of them. When I say one of many, I mean, you know, 2 or 3, till I get bored. Unless I actually get some feedback. Hey, we actually like your ramblings. It would be a lot better if you did this thing where you maybe had an idea of what you wanted to talk about beyond the first couple lines. We've graduated from sovereign citizens and their idiocy. We kind of touched briefly on libertarians and just, you know, the overall hypocrisy. And we went the whole thing into tax reform. So, you know, let's just kind of work our way backwards. Libertarians, I mean, what are you going to do? Hypocrites all in all. They, you know, they benefit from a system that is flawed. It's not perfect, but they want to cry about it. Even though, historically, logically, and demonstratively, their way of doing things cannot work. The system, it needs to be changed. I have no doubt of that, but that is just not the way to do it. Not at all. Sovereign citizens. Idiots. Just mental. I mean, we used to actually, you know, when somebody was like, you know, I am an emperor, you know, we would just get them help. You know, maybe we'd send it to a shrink. Maybe we'd get them some pills. But there wasn't, you know, this process of glorifying them and being like, holy crap, this totally makes sense. And whether somebody's saying that to be genuine or just, you know, hey, I want to see what else this idiot does, they still feel like their point is validated. And so no matter how many times their fellow sovereign citizens and Moorish get arrested, they're going to try the exact same thing. You know, what's the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. I'm going to amend that. It's watching 1,000 other people do the same thing, get arrested, and saying, you know what, it'll be different for me. And, you know, if you really think that way, then my advice to you is, you know, if you're going to try and fly, start from the ground. Do not, you know, go to the observation deck of the Empire State Building, because you don't see ducks lining up to take the elevator. They start from the fucking ground, and so should you. And this has been a Red's Ramblings. Ta-ta.
I love you too. Alright, now look, listen.